Last week, I ranted about 70% just not being enough. And I meant that through the perspective of folks who say that their happiness level is 7 out of 10, that their sense of self-actualization and living the good life is hovering around a failing grade in high school. And I ranted further about the importance of giving it your all, at least in terms of making the most out of the life that we live so we could live and love the life that we've got. And I got a little bit of pushback suggesting that don't we have the opposite problem, that we try maybe a little bit too hard, and that in that stress and anxiety, we go from an otherwise 8 or even 9 down to a 7 just because we are giving it our best shot. So I think I was a little bit misunderstood. Not that there was a tsunami of backlash, but I get it. So in the spirit of looking at the problem of our lives today through a more Pollyanna light, I would like to turn the argument on its head, at least for a few minutes today, in the No Hair, All Heart podcast. I still have no hair, but I've got lots of heart. Mookie Spitz. And today I'm going to look at this challenge of living our lives in our crazy and getting crazier world through the relentless pursuit of OK. How striving for good makes life better. I do many things badly. These include running the New York City Marathon, playing Eddie Van Halen's Eruption, and solving gigantic Rubik's Cubes. I also wrote a couple novels, have hundreds of these blogs, and yes, I love podcasting as I am now. We are all so very, very lucky as a consequence, but I digress. Most people, as it were, would be impressed by some of this stuff. But if you look under the hood, you'll discover that the New York Marathon took me almost 7 hours. My guitar playing is intermediate level at best. My Rubik's Cube moves require the least amount of effort and also take a long time. And I don't think I'm quite in the top 5 next to Joe Rogan and Mark Maron in podcasting streams. At least not yet. But I say, so what? Some guy running barefoot passed me at mile 22 of the marathon in Central Park. I'm not kidding. I'm running, I'm tired, I'm sore, I'm deep into, I believe, hour 6, and this guy dressed in red running shorts with a white cutoff t-shirt, carrying a full-sized flag of Poland, the Polish flag. Did I say he was barefoot? He was barefoot. I was not hallucinating. Ran right past me on the path there, leading into Central Park at about mile 22. But the day was exhilarating. I just ran from Staten Island, through Brooklyn, up into Manhattan, across over to Queens, back over through Midtown, up into the Bronx. What a day. And as far as my musicianship goes, I'm not going to fill Madison Square Garden anytime soon. But playing loud and fast is an incredible release. And when I lived in New York, I've since moved to California, People sat spellbound watching me solve a gigantic Rubik's Cube on the subway. I didn't really care about that in so much as it was really a great way to channel my restless mental energy. It was meditative, time flew by. It got me through a few rough patches, especially back in 2018, 2019, when I was obsessed with Rubik's Cubing as a way of bringing order to my chaotic life. But suffice to say, I use all these examples as a way of applying the expression happiness equals reality over expectations. And I score big points for sheer satisfaction, especially since I don't try that hard. Focused on the intrinsic enjoyment, challenging myself to the point of learning without actually mastering, I get the best of both worlds. I could run faster, play better, and solve smarter, but who really cares? Who's paying attention, and what exactly is the point? And I can say the same thing about my writing, my hundreds of blogs, my novels, my podcasts. To be honest, I hardly even look at the metrics. How many people have listened? How many people have bought? How many people read? I don't care that much just because this is so much fun. Would more people reading and buying and listening enable me to do more of this? I don't know. I'm already making so many sacrifices and I'm already so far in the hole financially for doing all this. I had a former life partner and she would be upset when I had my buddy over late at our Brooklyn brownstone. We'd be making noise and drinking beer. He was a funny guy, and we would laugh. And my life partner up on the third floor in the bedroom would text, and then she'd call, and she was furious. And she was right. We should have, but couldn't, shut the hell up. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. On a Sunday, on a Monday morning, we were rude. I was a jerk. We did it anyway. So then, sensitive to her upset, the following week, after this blow up, one of many, I asked her via text, is it okay if so and such comes over this evening? And she wrote back tersely, I do not care. And that became a meme with me and my friend. We screenshot that little text, block, and randomly, inappropriately, sometimes contextually, we would text that little screenshot back to each other, either as a non sequitur or as a response to a question. I do not care. And what are my metrics this week? How many people are listening? I do not care. If I were obsessed with being the best, I'd never do any of these enjoyable things at all. Eliud Kipchoge recently finished the marathon in 2 hours. His average mile is more than twice as fast as my fastest mile. I cannot even full out sprint to keep up with this guy while he's running a full marathon. And burned out Eddie Van Halen, when he was still alive and still kicking, ostensibly a mess, played the guitar better than I ever will. Felix Zemdegs, and now this new guy, Max, solves cubes 10 times faster, 20 times faster, 30 times faster, blindfolded, than I do with my eyes wide open. I do not care. How can I compete with such greatness or even get close? And why even try? How many books have I sold this week? I do not care. Running keeps me fit. Playing music. The drums. I beat on the drums too. Gives me release. Cubing, Rubiksing helps me relax. And I love writing and ranting. I do videos too on TikTok. I just noticed this week I've got about 15,340 something followers. And I realized just this week that my upward little slog in accrued followers actually took a reversal. I actually lost followers this week on TikTok. I thought that that was just on Instagram. I have been unable to crack more than 600 followers on Instagram, which is about 50 less than when I started about 1,000 videos ago. TikTok's been better. The algorithm is better. But I've started to flip it there too. I do not care. Because the same rule apply to most things in life, including work and parenting and even my art. Could I be more overtly successful? The metrics, the money, the likes, the comments, the shares. Sure. Could I be a better dad? Of course. But, my career is okay. My creative work isn't exactly taking off, at least not yet. But I'm doing all of this anyway. Because my kids seem to be doing all right. And I haven't gone entirely broke just yet. And I can't shut the hell up. So why ruin good by trying to make everything great, at least on the surface of things? Our society is obsessed by winning. We're trained from birth to kick ass and take names. Richer, faster, and better are drilled into us as absolute success criteria. Our culture of consumerism also demands more of everything, especially the success necessary to buy more things. The opposite is also true. We're either a binary hero or a zero, number one or a broke loser. There's nothing in between. I had a friend recently, former colleague. He wrote a book. He bought my book, so quid pro quo, I bought his book. But even if he wouldn't have bought my book, I would have bought his book as a gesture of support. I'm also curious about his book. It was a pre-sale of his book, and he told me that his royalties are going to be based on pre-sale volume, and I was happy to help him out. But then I kind of wondered, did this guy write the book to boost his pre-sale royalty percentage? I mean, you do that anyway. Is he writing to make money? Is he writing to get read? Is he writing to write? I don't know, man. That's him. Am I rationalizing my own inability or unwillingness to, at least at this point, play ball to the extent that I conscientiously go about building a larger audience? I do not care. This fearsome competitiveness and obsession about the money, honey, makes us all hyper-competitive, mean-spirited, and hopelessly unhappy. Anything addictive builds tolerance, demands ever-increasing stimuli to trigger ever-diminishing responses. That's especially true for the biggest pleasures in life: sex, money, and power. Moderation and balance might be beneficial for the soul, but everyone has their price. What's yours? What's mine? Well, at least based on this rant so far, I'm a cheap date. We end up paying a price too, by the way, diminishing returns all around. How many cars can you drive? How many steaks can you eat? Along the way, how many hours are we away from our family? How many people do we alienate? How much of life do we miss? Swapping one form of positive reinforcement for another, the map gets mixed up with the territory as we kill ourselves to live. The Tesla board just approved $1 trillion payout for Elon Musk if he could double car sales. I was talking to another friend who's, by the way, a big Elon Musk fan, owns Tesla stock, drives a Cybertruck, And he asked me how I felt about this. I said, I don't really feel about it one way or another, but I mean, it's an open market. If this guy could reach the goals of the board of directors who have offered to give him $1 trillion, $1,000 billion to meet them, then who am I to say otherwise? It's ostensibly a free market. And who knows, he might bolster the goals or the revenue of the company in new and novel ways, which is probably what he's thinking about anyway. Robots, self-driving stuff. Who knows? It's an incentive. Is he marred by his reputation? Sure, but it doesn't seem to be stopping them. If nothing else, I just love how all the rules have changed, if not turned upside down. But does it suck in the way I'm describing? Do we really need to live our lives this way? He lives his life that way and has been doing pretty good. And by that I mean Elon Musk. He might not have much time for his family, but his family seems to be pretty big as he keeps impregnating more and more women with his self-defined and prescribed goal of repopulating the planet. But once again, who am I to say? And I do not care. But the overall zeitgeist here is that the bad mojo often turns our lives into a series of avoidable one-car accidents. A really funny scene from The Big Bang Theory is when Amy ruins Indiana Jones. You've probably seen the clip. It's one of the best. Much to Sheldon's surprise, dismay, then dropping acknowledgement, she explains how the ending of the film would have been completely identical had the hero never been swept into the adventure at all. How much of our own lives would be better if we try less hard or not try at all? I'm a big fan of the multiverse. What actions do we engage that actually branches our world line? So we choose to have vanilla or chocolate ice cream. That's usually not an earth-shattering decision with commensurate implications. But then again, you make a left or a right and you end up getting to the church on time or getting run over by a tractor trailer and dying. Who knows anything? Despite Indy's heroic efforts in Indiana Jones, the Nazis find the Ark of the Covenant, open it, and get zapped by the powers within. Indy gets the Ark to the States, but it winds up in a warehouse and not a museum. So Indy is not only superfluous to the whole story, but he actually fails in his mission. What would Indiana Jones, the first one, been like in the multiverse where Indy did not participate in any of the drama whatsoever? The Nazis would have found the Ark, opened it, gotten zapped, and then the US government would have thrown it in a warehouse and not a museum anyway. And yet, he's the hero, even though everything he did was utterly meaningless, pointless, and if you think about it, immensely destructive to himself and everyone else. He did reunite with the gal, though. Maybe that's the point. But who thinks about this shit? And the answer is nobody. Why? Because they do not care either. Underneath the everyday, we want to electrify our existence and become a hero, just like Indy. These stories appeal to us with their excitement, their sense of purpose, and their protagonist's relentless pursuit of excellence. Nobody and nothing can stop them, giving us inspiration to conquer our own internal and external demons that busily block our fanatical quest for success. But why? Why do we care about some things and not others? An adjunct to that is, why do people end up doing what they do and not something else? I used to obsess about this, but guess what? Now, I do not care. An acronym for the archaic spelling all correct. OK, the two letters, OK, pronounced OK, officially went mainstream during the presidential campaign of Martin Van Buren in 1840. He was a native of Old Kinderhook, New York, and he adopted the phrase, vote for OK, not for MVB, Martin Van Buren, but vote for the guy from his hometown, Old Kinderhook. OK comes from Old Kinderhook, New York. Who knew? A loanword from American English into countless languages, OK has since become the most frequently spoken and written word on planet Earth. OK, Old Kinderhook. Martin Van Buren, 1840, presidential campaign. Another way of saying old correct. Old correct in Old Kinderhook, OK, is now used throughout the world as a noun, adjective, and adverb. It expresses approval, agreement, assent, or acknowledgement. OK also describes something as adequate or acceptable. It's kind of all right. It's okay. And when used in comparison with something else better, implicitly implies mediocrity. Okay is thus the opposite of the special, the heroic. It ubiquitously denotes passive acquiescence and banality by want of its sheer universality. It's okay. It's not fan-fucking-tastic. It's not even great. It's okay. It wasn't bad. It didn't completely suck. It was all right. It was okay. Nothing to see or talk about here. Now, I embrace the relentless pursuit of okay. Not excellence, not the fan-fucking-tastic, but okay. I embrace the relentless pursuit of okay because whenever I've striven for perfection, my heroism has proven either superfluous, a failure, or both. You can probably relate. Now, I'm not a slacker or saying that hard work, determination, and talent shouldn't go into all that we do. I just finished my second novel and I killed myself. I worked so hard on this book, as I've ranted about before. 5 weeks, probably 6 weeks of non-stop effort. I ate, I excreted, I slept barely, and I really, really didn't do much of anything else. And I loved it. This rant is not about being a chicken shit, giving up on life, or settling for second best baby. Rather, I'm sharing my elation in finally discovering how an 80% effort empowers the universe to do the more important remaining 20%. And when you combine that 80 with 20 and you got your moment and you feel it like I did at the completion, the 11th hour, the last phase, the last turn on the racetrack, around the bend, that 100% was there and I cranked it up. I cranked it up to 11. And that was glorious. But that was a moment in time when everything came together. Central to this liberating notion is sensing the boundaries between control and accomplishment and understanding how they are both emergent consequences of rather than the purposes for doing cool things and meaningfully connecting with others. Zen archers become one with bow, arrow, and target. But why assume their goal is always a bullseye? To me, this is the nut right here. Go ahead and kill yourself. Or go ahead and put in that 70%, maybe that 80%, see what happens. Or if you have your moment like I did and kill yourself to get that project done, go overboard on something just because you feel like it. But here's the thing. Why are you assuming that the goal, the ultimate goal, is the bullseye? Become one with bow, arrow, and target. Be one with the universe and your purpose and your destiny. And don't judge the success or failure of your enthusiasm, your initiative, your sense of purpose, and your level of commitment with any overt signs of success. The indicator comes from within, and you feel it, and it feels good. And you know you got it when you can look at everything else that gets in the way of your relentless pursuit of OK, and you don't care. Thank you for listening. I'm not sure if this was an antidote to the 70% is bullshit rant of a week ago, but I just felt I should kind of cap it. Because I didn't want to give others and myself the impression that it's all or nothing, do or die. I was talking about that intrinsic satisfaction. Don't settle for second best there, baby. But if you've got it and you do it, then bring it. Thanks for listening.